We worked our way up to one point, got set up. Then it was just walk where you can, crawl where you can, work our way through tules, work our way through thick willows, you know, hunker down. Man, he's starting to get up.
He's getting up.
Get ready, watch him partner.
Yeah.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by the Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Thompson Center, America's master gunmaker. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. The Buck Bomb blows away traditional scents. Bad Boy Buggies, they'll never hear you coming. And by Remote Locations, Secrets of Making Outdoor TV, a 150-page full-color book from Orion Multimedia. Order by phone 1-800-850-9453.
Larry, I think he's gonna go behind them trees for us.
Oh, God, yeah, he is.
We'll just back out and try and work down this, keep going.
Larry Weishuhn, Mr. Whitetail, has come to one of the hidden realms of trophy whitetail, the great state of Wyoming, where he'll be hunting southwest of Casper with B. Joe Coy's Yellow Creek Outfitting.
Looky there.
Larry.
Mr. B. Joe Coy, how are you?
Good to see you, buddy.
It is good to see you, sir. By golly, it's good to be here.
Glad you're here.
You know, we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, we finally got it all put together.
Ran across B. Joe Coy a few years ago at the Dallas Safari Club convention and almost immediately became friends with him. And we got to visit a little bit, and I mean, it was like old home, coming home to friendship.
Things been going good. Got a few deer down. I got one in the back of the truck here. I got to take to the meat processor. And glad you got in here a day early. We'll look around and do a little pre-scouting. It should be good.
I understand the weather is going to change. There's a chance of snow and things coming up.
Have a little snow, a little cold weather. Probably have wind. We always have wind in Wyoming.
I'll be honest with you, or frank with you. This is the least amount of wind I've ever seen.
Yeah,
but I've been in Wyoming
before.
before.
Unusual day.
Trophy whitetail in Wyoming may come as a surprise to some hunters, but not the fact that Wyoming is one of this country's great hunting states. While the river bottoms and prairies are homes to both whitetail and the pronghorn antelope, the higher elevations are inhabited by such magnificent big game as the mule deer and the elk. And if the elk is, as Theodore Roosevelt said, the most stately and beautiful of the deer, the moose is certainly the largest, and the Shira subspecies roams throughout Wyoming's mountains. Sharing the heights with the moose is the agile bighorn sheep and the white-haired mountain goat. Cougars and black bears roam the ridges too. And because Wyoming has long practiced far-sighted wildlife policies that acknowledge the important role hunting and fishing play in stewarding game, it may not be too long before grizzlies and wolves can be hunted once more in the state. Weishuhn could not have picked a better time to come to Wyoming to hunt with Yellow Creek Outfitters. The rut's in full swing, and with love in the air, it's an episode of Bucks Gone Wild as they give chase to the does all over the rolling plains and cottonwood bottomlands.
Game plan first morning was just kind of get up high and see what we could see. Just watch the deer be deer and try and find where some of them bigger bucks were moving around and pushing does and starting to rut up.
Man, I just love this whitetail deer hunting, particularly right now when these does are starting to come and eat.
Yeah.
You watch them, they carry that tail about halfway like that.
There's a lot of movement.
Here comes a buck. I mean, the chase is on, by golly.
Watch them old teenagers running all day long.
BJ had told me, he says, I think you're going to be there right during the peak of the rut. Well, it didn't take a whole lot of looking to realize that he was exactly right, because sitting up there on top of that bluff, we were watching bucks chasing does, going back and forth, running all over the place. These bucks are rutting strong, they're rutting hard, they're willing to fight. Not only are there a lot of deer out there, you start looking and oh my gosh, at least a third or better of them grown deer, are pretty good sized bucks.
Now there was a buck over here that's collared. Are some of these deer collared?
Yeah.
The collars these deer are wearing are not fashion statements. They're a way for research biologists to trace their location and movements, to keep track of diseases and other management factors.
Wyoming is doing all kinds of research on this particular ranch, and there are a bunch of radio-collared bucks, mature bucks, young bucks, does. A lot of the deer ear tagged as well.
I noticed that one doe, and there's a buck over here.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about it a while ago. That some of these deer are collared.
There's a big 8 down here, big 8 that's collared.
Got a
and
collar?
tagged, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a pretty neat deal.
It is. It is.
You look good with one of those radio telemetry collars around your neck.
No way! Your hat band must be a little too tight. Or maybe you weren't wearing that hat of yours this past summer. Think that Texas sun has gotten to you.
I'd love to know where you go when you're not with me. Why don't you take a little nap? You're getting very sleepy. Very sleepy. Very sleepy.
It was kind of a free-for-all there for a little while. They were really moving. Little 8 running does ragged. Didn't take much time. We had wide buck come down right below us, across the creek.
God, this is fantastic. And being up here, we can see everything, too. I love everything. Now, the young buck here.
I started seeing several bucks. It really got me to thinking, you know, is that one I ought to take? And I mean, good spread, tall tines, good mass, big 8 points, a couple of young 10 points, a couple of real nice 10 points off in the distance. And I'd look over at Matt and I said, what do you think, Matt? And he'd go, you know, let's just wait. You know, it's the first morning. These aren't the last bucks we're gonna see. Just a perfect situation to study deer, where you sit there with glasses, no pressure to shoot. You're just watching those deer and you're paying attention to what they're doing. And then another buck runs out, you know, and you gotta look at him, you know, man, big tall tines, you know, not real widespread. And then another buck runs out over here, and it's like, oh my God, what'd I do? Do I shoot? Do I not shoot? But you know, when you come on a place like this and you know that there are deer there and you've got a guide that knows that particular country, you follow his advice. He follow his advice. Never try to out-guide the guide, because it's always going to cost you in the long run.
I think he's going to jump the fence. God, I'd love to shoot that rascal right at the top of that jump.
Larry Weishuhn has come to experience one of the best-kept secrets of whitetail deer, the great hunting to be found in the western state of Wyoming. Even better, he's here at the height of the rut on Winchester's World of Whitetail. The debate goes on among deer hunters about what is the ideal buck-to-doe ratio for ultimate herd health. Weishuhn gives us the benefit of his experience and tackles the question of the best doe to take on Larry's World of Management.
As a wildlife biologist, I've had the opportunity to work with all kinds of deer herds in all types of terrain, habitat. One of the things that we hear a lot about is the buck-to-doe ratio, and you know, how important is it? In a natural situation, the buck-to-doe ratio is probably 1 buck to every 1.5 does on the places that I've looked at over years in terms that have not been hunted, huge tracts of land. It's always been interesting that that's been the ratio. In most situations, we have a buck-to-doe ratio where we put so much pressure on the bucks that the doe segment of that population may be 1 buck to every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 does. In those particular situations, that's where you want to take a lot of does. One of the things that we run into in most deer herds, we simply do not take enough of the antlerless segment. I mean, they eat just as much as a whitetail buck does, and they're every bit as good or even better to eat as a whitetail buck is. It's something to remember as well. Now, which one do you shoot? So the simple answer is, it's the one that you can get your bow sight, get your gun sight on long enough to release that arrow or pull the trigger. That's the doe that you want to take.
For more on managing buck-to-doe ratios, log on to versuscountry.com.
We did happen to turn on the radio and we heard that there was a system moving in for the next day, so couldn't wait. I mean, they were predicting maybe some rain, some snow. They weren't real sure, but we knew it was going to turn really cold. Get over to an edge of this field, kind of where we looked before, and sure enough, here's this absolutely gorgeous buck. He has got long back tines, relatively short front tines, long brow tines. He's got a radio collar around his neck. He just kind of strolls out there about 150 yards right out in front of us.
He's gonna go back there in the back, get down there on the creek. Matt, that old buck did everything right, didn't he? Yeah, he wasn't but, what, maybe 175, 200 yards at the most.
He gave us a fair shot.
He gave us a perfect shot, I'll tell you.
He was good, but there's better deer. And it's a good morning to see him.
I think what we need to do is find that biologist that's working on those collared deer and have him track some of those bucks for us. It'd be interesting to see how close we've been to some of them.
Yeah. That morning we decided we'd kind of get in the truck and warm up a little bit and go on top of some of them hills and glass down, and found a spot over by an old cabin barn that there's always a lot of deer moving through there, and I've never went down there. And we decided the wind was right, everything was right, we'd sneak in there real quiet and see what we could see.
There's a buck right there. What do you think? He's pretty young deer. I think he's gonna jump the fence. God, I'd love to shoot that rascal right at the top of that jump. There he goes, he's over the fence.
I don't know about Matt, but for me, it was one of the most exciting days I've ever spent hunting whitetail deer. Every facet that you'd want to see of the rut, I just appeared that day. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable.
Matt, I'll tell you what, I think he's going to be able to breathe that doe right here in front of us. She's staying for him every once in a while, but not quite letting him out here.
Sure trying. I think he's going to get it.
Oh, you know what? Watch it out. Watch. He just bred her. He just bred her. Looks like the world of whitetail is going to gain a few deer. Golly. I've seen them breed a few times out in the wild, but never up in this part of the country. Always down in Texas where I live. There ain't no doubt now the rut is on.
Just as we got there, I sprayed some doe and estrus buck bomb out, and I don't know whether this had the effect of bringing all those bucks in, but it sure must have had some positive effect to it, because a lot of them were right in that area where I'd put it. And then this old collared buck that we had seen the day before, long back tines, long brow tines, short fronts. He comes in just as proud as he can be, neck swelled, you know, collar right up here. He walks over and he starts hooking this dadgum fence post. I mean, just unbelievable afternoon of seeing bucks do things that, you know, most people only hear about.
Come right down the fence line again. Come right toward us, Matt. Yeah. See what he does. And if he just had 10 points or longer tines, he's got spread, he's got good beams. He come right up here to almost kiss us.
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming dead at us.
I mean, it was tough turning that deer down, and I came very, very close to raising the rifle and shooting, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I had, we'd have missed out on so many other things that we saw that afternoon.
Matt, I'm gonna have to wait till he gets up. I can't see enough of him.
A fulfilling day of hunting whitetail in the rut in Wyoming comes to an exciting conclusion for Larry Weishuhn on this Winchester World of Whitetail.
Winchester's World of Whitetail is brought to you by the Dallas Safari Club, promoting conservation, education, and ethical hunting worldwide. Nikon, the trusted name in optics. Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Thompson Center, America's master gunmaker. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. The Buck Bomb blows away traditional scents. Bad Boy Buggies, they'll never hear you coming. And by Wild Game Innovations, nutrition, attraction, and action.
In central Wyoming, outside the town of Casper, Mr. Whitetail, Larry Weishuhn, has come to pursue his favorite big game animal. Better known for antelope and mule deer, Wyoming is actually a real sleeper state for white-tailed deer. And for Weishuhn, he's timed his hunt when the bucks are coming full force into the rut on Winchester's World of Whitetail.
The rut has just started, and then this buck stepped out, and I mean, he's wide and he's tall, and he sets up real high, and I could tell, and I go, golly, you know, man, that's a good deer. You know, we're here in Wyoming. What do you do? What are you doing? Again, I look over at Matt, and Matt's just over smiling at me.
I think we need to get into them trees over there, Larry. So what we'll do is we'll back out, go all the way around, and then drop down in that other side of this little hay meadow, and get in them trees and watch them deer moving through them trees.
I like that idea.
It's just too windy.
Yeah. The other thing was, you know, that moon being full on that, and I think tonight is full moon. Some of those big old bucks may move during the middle of the day too, especially in that thicker stuff. They'll be up to get stretching and moving and chasing does. So I like that idea. I'll just grab my gear and follow you out of here.
Got behind that hill and worked up to the scrub brush and got into the creek bottom and set up once. They'd move a little farther, so we'd back up, go up the cattails and set up again. They'd move a little farther. So we'd do the same thing. We did it about 5 or 6 times. Chasing does.
Hey, yes.
There's 2 bucks out there.
What do you think?
I think maybe take this bank and go all the way around into that brush. Let's drop us right up into that brush. Yeah. We'll be low enough.
I think so too.
And we'll just work our way back up at it.
Good, okay. I'm right behind you. We worked our way up to one point, got set up, eased up, had to move out, backed up, got up front a little bit, got all set up. Just as I got set up, shoot, had my good solid rest.
Larry, I think he's gonna go behind them trees for us.
Oh God, yeah, he is.
We'll just back off and cut him off. We'll just back out and try and work down, just keep going. We'll catch up with him.
So it's back into the toolies. We're crawling along as best as we can, trying not to make much noise. Get up to a second point, and even at that second point, we can't see the deer initially. All of a sudden, there he is. He's right there close to us.
He's right there, Larry. He just laid down.
He just laid down. Now, normally, you know, I might have been concerned about that, but at that point, it was a blessing. I mean, here I'd been running, sweating, all those kind of things, trying to get up there. I really need a little bit of a breather to catch my breath.
Look at get out of that tall grass. There's a spot right through there. He's laying right there to the right of that doe.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Can you get a bullet through that grass, Larry?
Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Okay. Larry, that doe's 280.
I can see his antlers, but I can't see enough of his body. I'm gonna have to wait till he stands up. I got the crosshairs on him, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. All I could see was just the tips of his antlers and maybe just the very top of his body. There was too much grass. When he stands up, I'm gonna shoot him. Matt, I'm gonna have to wait till he gets up. I can't see enough of him.
There's a deer coming from the left down here, coming right to him.
Then I hear Matt say, Larry, there's a buck coming in from the left. I think it's gonna make him stand up. Matt, he's gonna get up. Watch him for him.
I'm on him. Got him.
Hit.
Got him. Got him.
I think he's going to go down.
Larry didn't waste any time putting the wham on him. He wasn't going anywhere once he stood up.
Here's this absolutely gorgeous long brow-tine deer that's laying up there on the hillside that I can't wait to go look at. Good spread. You talk about a hunt, but I'm going to tell you something. This is one of the best whitetail hunts I've ever been on. All BS aside, I love hunting whitetails. I've hunted them almost everywhere you can in North America. This is how you hunt whitetail. Got a whitetail hunt I'll never forget. This was the one. Wyoming, hunting with B. Joe Coy, hunting with Matt Tarr. What a great place. Lots of really good animals, great habitat, and a great time to be had by all. I mean, we had an absolute blast.